know the tax stuff.
Good morning. I'd like to welcome you to the regular session of the Blackhawk County Board of Supervisors meeting for March 10, 2026. Roll call, please.
Schwartz.
Here.
Paul.
Here.
Brandt.
Here.
Kurtenbach.
Here.
Leyland.
Here. Would everyone please join us for a moment of silence to reflect on our actions today. Thank you. Would you please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 1, the agenda received as proposed or as amended.
So second.
Then moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The agenda passed. Item 2 is public comments. Is there anyone here today that would like to speak on public comments on something that is not on today's agenda? Anyone online? Moving on to claims and payments. Resolution that the Board of Supervisors approve expenditures and that the county auditor be authorized and directed to issue payments against the various settlement of such claims as allowed.
So moved. Second.
Ms. Reed?
Good morning, Board. Our total bill payment today is $502,663.05. Out of that, the 60/40 fund, we're paying $8,157.92. And there is payment for benchmark software coming out of there, so that's why it's a little bit higher this week. Other larger things, we are paying the second half installment to the rural libraries, and that total is $111,793.40. And then our total payroll today is about 1.7 million. Everything appears to be in order.
Any questions for Michelle? All right, this is a resolution. Please answer as your name is called.
Brandt.
Yes.
Paul.
Yes.
Kurtenbach.
Yes.
Schwartz.
Yes.
Leyland.
Yes. Item number 4, receive project updates from department heads and elected officials.
Good morning, Board. Kathy, Plus Engineer. Well, it's time to start thinking about dust control. We've issued notices now to the courier, and Gabby has put some information out on social media. Our longtime rural residents who typically get dust control know that go on our website and look for an approved vendor, and then connect with that vendor, and then the vendor will put you on a list, and that is due by, I believe, April 15th. Vendors are contacting us, so look for that information out in the media. We have several roads closed due to flooding right now. Actually, 2 roads in the eastern part of the county, the Wapsipinicon, Green Creek area is experiencing a little bit of flooding right now. Team Road and Bennington Road are closed in certain locations. This is on our road notification network. It's on the map. And then Butler Road is closed on the west. That's the western boundary of the county. That is due to flooding up the west fork of the Cedar. Probably those will be going down in the next couple days. And then we are busy doing bridge inspections and cutting a lot of brush out in the county. Can I answer any questions at this time?
Thanks, Gabby.
Thank you.
Morning, Board. Tim Jamison, Systems Real Estate Tax Manager in the Auditor's Office. As you know, the Auditor's Office is required by law to send out budget property tax statements to all of our taxpayers by March 15th. We expect these to begin hitting the mail by the end of this week. Happy to report that all the cities, the school districts, and the county got their information in by the March 5th deadline to be included on these statements and avoid a penalty. This is the 3rd year we've been required to mail these statements out, so hopefully it'll be a little less confusing to people this year. We mail them to everyone who receives a property tax bill, and so that mailing includes about 45,000 letters in 41,500 envelopes. I provided a copy of your individual statements, kind of an advance one, just in case you get questions, you'll know what people are asking about. Also note, I still have to mail you one. The law does not allow us to hand deliver these or deliver these electronically, so you're gonna get one in the mail too. Don't complain to me about wasting money on that. So once again, these are not bills. They do not require any action by the person receiving them. They strictly provide information about when the cities, the county, and the school district are gonna hold public hearings on their maximum property tax askings, and then information about what's being proposed. So if you have any questions on how to decipher these, feel free to stop by my office and I'll do the best I can. But they should be hitting the mail Thursday or Friday.
Tim, I have one question.
Sure.
What's the effective tax rate? What is that?
The effective tax rate is what the tax rate would need to be for Blackhawk County to collect the exact same amount of property tax dollars next year as it's collecting this year. Not a dollar more, not a dollar less. So if you were collecting, let's see if I have a copy of that. If you look at the county for urban resident, currently you're collecting $33,777,308. If you were to collect that exact same amount next year, you'd need to have a property tax rate of $5.48884.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry, any other questions? Thanks.
I would just like to note too that, that when Tim said that all the local jurisdictions met the deadline, that was a credit to Tim for going above and beyond of reaching out to those folks. We had a few jurisdictions that we were a little nervous about them meeting the deadline on Thursday, but kudos to him for not only emailing, but calling, finding their cell phones. So he did go above and beyond to make sure they met that goal.
Cheers, Tim.
Yep,
Thank
thanks
you.
again.
Morning board, Amanda Fessimer, HR Director. Couple updates, tomorrow is a department head meeting at 9 a.m. and policy review meets at 10:15 following department head meeting. Expecting attendance to be a little light with Iowa State Association County Spring Conference, I believe kicks off tomorrow. So might be a smaller group, but that's fine. Policy review, we're continuing to review the travel reimbursement expenditure policy that was worked on with myself, Caitlin Emmerich, our public health director, Kathy Nicholas, our county engineer, and assistant county engineer Ryan Brennan. And then I have just a couple other ongoing topics that were from previous meetings. So that will likely be some kind of a work session if it is a small group and we don't have enough members attending as much action. But also just want to note that we're busy with recruitment and selection. We have a lot out with seasonal staff job offers coming on, interns. Also want to note that our intern in the HR office started about 3 weeks ago. Her name's Lauren Osborne. Typically, I introduce them, but she has morning classes, so she actually won't ever be here for a board meeting. But we're excited for her to be a part of our team for the next few weeks in the spring semester. She's majoring in human resources at the University of Iowa, and plans to graduate this spring. We have had a bit of resignations or just turnover, but in public health in our clinic and in the sheriff's office as well as treasurer's office, so you'll see some of those come through. But and of course, still recruiting for assistant county attorney, at times dispatch detention officer roles, and we have, so you'll see some bidding, see some just department heads come before you, but that's kind of how this happens with hiring and recruiting. We just see kind of a lull over the holidays, winter, and then spring comes, and a lot of hiring and just people looking for other opportunities. So just wanted to make you aware of that. Lastly, and our chair Linda may speak to it at the end, but I just thought I would mention that the GAPM survey did go out. So this is our second generally accepted people metrics countywide survey. Linda, I can let you speak to that at the end.
Go right ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, you can know probably more about it than
Sure. Well, appreciate you sending out an email to all staff, just letting them know this was coming. Department heads also got an email. Just a reminder, department heads aren't supposed to fill out the management section, as that would be filling out their own survey on themselves. But we're aiming for 100% participation. Last time we had about almost 70% participation. The survey is open until March 27th. So we'll get an update as to how much that participation has been met about midway through. Probably send out a couple reminders, but if if you have any questions about that, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. And this time, the culture team, which consists of the chair, Linda Leyland, myself, Anna Knapp, HR generalist, Cherry Gallmeyer, senior HR generalist, marketing coordinator, Gabby DeWitt, and conservation director, Mike Hendrickson, will be working with the consultant, Ted Garnett, analyzing this data and doing some further action planning this go around. So we're excited to see what those results survey brings, and just want to give you those quick updates. Any questions on anything I provided?
On the survey, would there be an option to like have the department heads also evaluate like separately? So that way it wouldn't skew the outcomes, but that way just kind of see where their perspective is versus the departments.
If you were almost to break it up
Yeah.
that way, we could certainly look at that or ask about that. I know we've talked about, not this time, it's still kind of a unified
Yeah.
countywide culture, but in the next round, likely that will be split up by departments. But if you're asking more like a department head versus like a team, is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we can at least ask the consultant Ted about that and see if that's something that can be drilled down.
I'd
Might be.
I'd be surprised at that just because we're doing it anonymously
Sure.
and totally anonymously this time to actually pull that from it after we've already pulled the trigger for this. But I think that would be something that we'd want to consider almost like as a department to do it that way. It'd be great to the department heads being reviewed.
Yeah, just thought it'd be interesting, like doing a peer review or something. I'm not saying to do that, but I'm just saying
Yeah.
comparing where how do I think about myself or my department versus what my peers and other people think about it, and why is there a difference?
And
Or
I think one thing that this is a little different with the culture team, that we are conducting interviews across, like, kind of getting a cross section of the workforce. I think each of us are responsible for like 4 interviews. And so that could be from a department head. We would expect to have everyone from a, employee who's been here 6 months to a year up to a 20 or 30 year employee, department head. So those are things we can, it might be, if it's not captured in the survey, it could almost be captured in like a focus group, which is part of this work that we're doing in the culture team. So, but I'll certainly provide that feedback and see if we can, how we would approach that.
I hadn't even thought of that, just even personally, if others didn't want to, I was curious about the department head's evaluation of us.
oh
And
yeah,
being
for sure.
engaged with that, being something that we could talk about in the future too, so.
But yeah, but that survey evaluates yourself, your team, and then your manager, supervisor. So that's how it's broken out across those different factors that drive organizational culture. So, any other questions? But thank you.
It was great, thanks for your help too, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
you and Al, I was gonna say, it went out early, as you saw from Ted, and then Al sent us all everybody received it, and he'd done the double checking on that, and I said, I'd had a couple questions already, and so Ted responded back to all, it was perfect, so that's kind of what he wanted to see us get going on, so I think off to a good start. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else with an update? Anyone online that would like to make an update today? Okay, moving on. Minutes approved for March 3rd, 2026 and March 4th, 2026.
So moved. Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Same sign, the minutes are approved. Later this morning, we have a hearing on the rezoning ordinance number 77305 for Rachel Zappital from A to AR. Item 7, consent agenda. Single resolution without discussion of any item unless someone wishes to pull an item for discussion.
So moved. Second.
Please answer as your name is called.
Kurttenbach,
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Grant,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Leyland.
Yes. Other business. Item A is a motion that the personnel requisition for an office specialist position, full-time replacement in the treasurer's office be approved as recommended by Linda Hinsman, County Treasurer.
So moved. Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Same sign, motion carries. Item B, resolution to approve and enter into proposed settlement agreement regarding claim number 6295 as approved by the Veterans Affairs Commission in the amount of $12,176.60 and to authorize the board chair to sign the same.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Anyone going to comment on this, or are we just going to?
It's been reviewed, it's a standard form, please.
Thank you. very much. Please answer as your name is called.
Brant,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Kurttenbach,
Yes.
Schwartz.
Yes.
Leyland.
Yes. Item C, motion to direct the finance director to advertise for a public hearing on the proposed Blackhawk County property tax levy for fiscal year 2026-27, establishing the maximum property taxes for the fiscal year to be held on March 24, 2026 at 9 a.m. in the Blackhawk County Courthouse, Waterloo, Iowa.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Item D, the time is 9:16, and we will enter into the hearing on proposed rezone ordinance number 77-305 for Rachel Zapito. Item 1, motion to receive and place on file, proof of publication.
Moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Item 2, motion to waive the first reading as notice was published on March 3rd, 2026 in the Waterloo Courier in accordance with the requirements of the Code of Iowa, and publication was approved by Rachel Zapito to rezone 2.45 acres of land from A agriculture to AR agricultural real residential district located at 301 West Marquee Road.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Item 3, motion to close the hearing as oral and written comments were received and placed on file.
So moved. Second.
Were there any written comments?
No written comments.
Thank you very much. Joseph.
Morning, Board. Joseph Gauman, planning staff. Just a couple of brief highlights. So this is another one similar to we had a couple weeks ago, where the house has been on the property for 15 years now, so it's eligible to be rezoned and split off. They're just seeking to split it off for estate planning purposes. So nothing will be changing that way. Just a small portion of the property is in the floodplain, just like the very corner, and so that's not a problem here. The Lisa score did indicate moderate agricultural value, but the house has been there. And the Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval unanimously. Do you have any questions for me or the applicant about this request?
I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
Joseph, first of all, what was the reason for the 15-year wait period? Why was that put in place?
I'm gonna speak what I'm assuming.
Yes.
I assume it's because they didn't want people to build a house on, a 40-acre lot and then immediately split it off, rezone and split it off. Since when somebody builds a farmhouse, they don't have to have a building permit. So I'm assuming that 15 years was to kind of stop people from trying to work around saving some money that way.
Okay. Yeah, knowing what the process is now, just kind of, this was before we have the current regulations in place. The second question I have is on the property, the beacon shows that there's some area on the southeast corner of the property being rezoned that was being farmed when this picture was taken. Will that be remaining, or will that cease being used as agricultural use?
You just give your name and address.
I'm Rachel Zapito. I'm the homeowner at 301 West Marquee Road. So I inherited this property from my father, Steve Riley, when he passed away. The property is, he built this house in 2011. He did not live there. It was kind of his little weekend getaway. My husband and I now occupy the property as our full-time residents. So my request is simply for estate planning purposes. If something would happen that I would predecease my husband, I would like him to be able to continue to live in the home. But my dad would absolutely want the farm, the 180-acre farm, to go to my children. So that's the reason for the request. There is a part that is plowed under that's tilled that I'm gonna let the farmer continue to farm. He's been my dad's farm tenant for years and years and years. It just made more sense to make it a square, as far as the rezoning request goes. But there is a section on the southeast corner that our tenant does farm, and I'm gonna let him continue to farm. I understand that that's not a problem.
That's why I'm asking. I don't know if it is or
Yeah,
not, so
I mean-
I'm gonna ask Joseph for clarification on that next.
Yeah, so I mean, that's not a problem, since, they can still lease it to the farmer. At some point, if they decide in the future they'd rather turn that into something else, they can do that. But they could do that even if it stayed with that larger property, so.
Okay, I was just wondering, because we're taking it from agricultural now to residential.
Yeah,
And it's still gonna be farmed, so it's still being used for what it was on the agricultural side. Just
Yeah.
clarification for us that we're making the right decision. on
yeah,
this.
yeah, that's not a problem.
Okay. That's all I have.
Thanks very much. If there were no written comments, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item 4, resolution to suspend the rules requiring the Board of Supervisors to consider and vote on the proposed ordinance at 2 prior meetings.
So moved. Second.
Roll call vote, please answer as your name is called.
Paul,
Yes.
Kurttenbach,
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Brant,
Yes.
Leyland.
Yes. Item 5, ordinance adoption, that ordinance amending ordinance number 36 as amended, the Blackhawk County, Iowa Agricultural Preservation Zoning Ordinance adopted February 2nd, 1999 by adding subsection number 305 to section 6B, rezoning certain property, as described on the above request submitted by Rachel Zappico, and to consider the same for adoption, and if adopted, would be known as ordinance number 77-305.
So moved. Second.
This is a resolution, please answer as your name is called.
Kurttenbach,
Yes.
Brant,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Leyland.
Yes. Item number 9, legislative update. Discussion and possible board action to approve position statement on pending legislation.
We really don't have a whole lot for update right now. We do have the ISAC Spring Conference tomorrow afternoon. There's a legislative forum down there for legislators to come and talk to all the supervisors and folks in the county. We're hoping to get some more update tomorrow and have a chance to visit with some folks and again, try and educate them as some fiscal impacts of some of the concerns we have with the property tax bill. The Senate bill did get moved ahead last week. There was a meeting on it. It does sound like it's the strongest of the 4 bills on property tax, but where it goes yet, still undetermined.
You said the Senate bill, that's the governor's bill?
No.
No.
3,000, Senate File 3001 is the Senate bill. Double check, make sure right here. I think it is.
They did a version, their own version.
Yeah.
Everybody did
Yeah.
their own version.
What was that?
Everybody did their own version.
Yeah.
You want to add anything more? Or is that-
No, we're waiting for more direction from IC or UCC as to any other bills they're wanting to make designation on, so we're just kind of standing by for news.
Any questions? Moving on to item 10, work session. This is the discussion, possible board action, and consideration of all aspects of the fiscal year 27 Blackhawk County budget. Michelle.
A little slow to get started today. All right, is, I think you're, whoops, you're all here now. Let's see. We did upload our initial budget to the department management website by the deadline. I did, because the group changed some decisions last Tuesday that you had already made, I kind of got cold feet, I guess, about putting in group changes. So I pretty much backed out the reductions you had made so that you would have flexibility to do what you're gonna do before the final hearing. So these rates are higher than where we were after making kind of consensus adjustments in last week. So in looking at this, and this does have, Justin earlier had asked about the budget year effective rate, that is one of the columns on here as well. And you can see that our countywide tax rate, which was $5.57 last year, in this version is going up to 5.63724. I think it's gonna be lower than that when we're done, but that's where it's being published at for that maximum proposed tax levy hearing. And then for the rural, the total rate was 9.28 for fiscal '26. Proposal going up to 9.45. And again, that's going to come down. And this, just to remind everybody, because I don't think Tim mentioned this, but these notices, this bottom section, the state has decided to just assume that everyone's property got a 10% assessment increase this year. Coincidentally, in Blackhawk County, for residential only, that is pretty much accurate. So what's showing up on here for the increase for an urban taxpayer and a rural taxpayer are pretty close to what would actually happen if you adopt those levy rates, which we already know you won't, but, so that's where that 4.55% and 5.23% change come from. There is unfortunately still an issue with the next section of this notice, which is the commercial property tax. Because they also applied that 10% increase to a commercial property. In Blackhawk County, the assessor's office is telling us this year that was more like 2%. So the increases that are illustrated on here, not only are they high because we think our rate will come down, they're also high because they're using a property that had a very high revaluation. So those are just items to note, I guess, as this will publish, it's supposed to publish in the paper on the 12th, so it should be out Thursday. We will have the hearing March 24th. That has to be a separate meeting, so we will have a separate meeting right at 9 in the morning, I assume very short, and then you adjourn that and you can have your regular meeting. So that is the plan for the publication today. Then, to get back to where we really were last week, I have now kind of rearranged, I guess I'll call it, that budget adjustments worksheet. And I've included all the decisions that you've made so far in the first section. And you can see that shows there is still a gap in the general fund of only $14,000. That looks a little different than what you probably anticipated last week because I had to make a couple of adjustments on the employee benefits. That always gets a little complicated. So the only choices that we have left that have not had any action are in that second section there, suggestions not yet acted on. And then I also continued to list out the items that you chose not to change from what was in the original budget, so you have the full menu in front of you of what we've been discussing so far. And I don't know if you wanna go through those now, we maybe want, I think maybe it makes sense to go ahead and look at the hypothetical tax increases. So the tax impacts to property owners, this has everything, both for what will be published for the proposed property tax levy hearing that we've already talked about, and then the third set, if you will, at the bottom, shows the rates with the adjustments that you did approve through March 3rd. So this is closer to where we are right now. That shows the urban residential having an increase of 4.17%, commercial at 2.32%. And again, these are estimates because this was an individual property tax revaluation year, so everyone's property could be different. We had to assume something, so the assessor calculated the average for each type of category. Some people's will be higher, some will be lower. But if you happen to have a property a residence that was upgraded by 10%, then your tax increase from us right now is at 4.17. Commercial, if you had a 2.1% increase, you would have a 2.32% increase in your taxes. Industrial, and this, I don't think this will apply, as I understand it, to all of them, but the properties that have warehouses may see increases that are gonna be high. Others will not. But if you did have that got a 10% increase, then your tax increase would be sitting at 11.46%. Multi-residential continues to do do well, they're at 0. Rural residential is at 5.45%. Agricultural is at 3.5%. And part of that agriculture is because you can see their revaluation estimate, oh, actually it's the rollback. The rollback dropped significantly. Rollback was 73% for ag property for fiscal '26, and that's all tied into productivity calculations, and so that dropped 14.4% to the 59.441. So those are the increases to taxpayers that we're looking at today.
That's a really quick question process.
Yep.
So like in downtowns where you've got commercial on ground level, residential up above, how are those buildings defined? Are they defined as multi-residential or do they actually split that?
It's like Tim.
Tim left.
I was looking for, we need to double check with Tim, I don't wanna misspeak because there've been too many changes in those rules, but I believe the top would be classified as residential and the bottom level is commercial, but if you remember, the first $150,000 of value of a commercial property is taxed like a residential, so.
He must have
smaller.
heard your name. And he appears.
I like it, that was good.
Tim Jamison, Real Estate Tax Manager. So we call those dual class properties. The assessor will assess each section of that individually and also apply a portion of the residential and a portion of the commercial to the underlying land value. It's a lot easier just to do like one floor is this, one floor is that, and then you also have to split that land value. In most cases, they're in the same tax district. In some cases, like downtown Cedar Falls, where they have a self-supported municipal improvement district, the residential may be in one tax district, the commercial may be in a different tax district, so they're paying 2 different tax rates on the same property. It gets a little confusing, but it all works out, so.
Okay. Cool.
Thanks.
And you just need to remember too, that commercial property has to be valued at more than 150. You know, the first 150 is gonna be at the residential rollback, so it's only gonna get taxed at 44% this year. Then that, any amount over the 150 gets taxed at the commercial rollback of 90%, so. Those have been significant changes in prior property tax reform bills that we've had to adapt to. I guess we can maybe look at use of fund balance. This is one of the choices still to be made. And I just wanted to show you some options about what that could look like if we chose to do it. You can see with the general supplemental levy, so those first 3 lines, I only adjusted general supplemental. And you can see where our tax collections go, they drop to 2.86 if we take 100,000. Yeah, it doesn't, interestingly, it doesn't necessarily change the tax increase very much because that's a single, when you think about that's a very small amount of our total tax value. If you would use 200,000, drops your tax collections down to 2.6%. Your urban residential would then see an increase of 3.79, and rural would be dropped to 5. If you use 300, you drop to 2.34% in total collections. Residential urban sees 3.41, rural residential is still 4.77. Then if we would use a combination and also take some of the rural fund balance, that begins to bring down the rural homeowners. So if you use 50,000 in rural and add that to the 100,000 of general supplemental, then they come down to 4.5 roughly. If we use 200 of general supplemental, 100 of rural, then the rural comes down to about 3.86. If you use 300 of general supplemental, and then the last one is an odd number, but that's because I'm not using the supplemental levy. If you remember, we started using the rural supplemental for the first time. That happens to be the amount we would need to use. So I thought, well, let's just wipe that out and see what happens. And that would bring down the rural residential to 3.18. That is also the first combination that brings our total tax collections down below 2%.
And these are figuring what we've already approved of coming out of? Or is this?
Correct.
Okay.
That includes all the adjustments already adopted through March 3rd and then kind of taxies on to the end. We hadn't looked at options for that before, so that's why I put that together.
It's nice to have.
Yes. We're having to weigh the choices, but that's where we are. I don't know what your preference is.
Yeah, just that you're comfortable with all those, it'd just be our decision on which one to do.
Yes, I think so. We've, particularly the rural fund balance grew a lot, primarily the large number of retirements we had in the sheriff's office. So we picked up a large chunk. It seems reasonable to bring that down some, and that does make, it's not very many dollars at $143,000 to make a pretty significant change in that tax levy, because we only collect 4 million there as compared to 33 million in the general and general supplemental.
I guess my concern remains that I've stated before, just because this isn't a normal year, that we're looking at 3 different property tax proposals in the state legislature that's going to, and it's likely one of them's gonna pass, that will tie every budget to what we do this year, and that not only impacts next year, that's gonna have a compounding impact year over year. And so that's, in a normal year, I'd be all about using some of those fund balances, but this year, I think the wise decision is not to.
Giving us some breathing room for next year and years after.
And this is a decision. You had mentioned wanting to wait and see if we can get more information from the legislature. We have time, obviously, before we do this. I just thought it might be helpful to see some of the numbers.
Oh, I think so, yeah, it is.
I would hope to, well, it all depends. I would hope that by March 24th, we can publish our budget adoption hearing publication once we've had our hearing on March 24th. So if we would have all our final choices kind of made, but not that you can still reduce even if we publish in the paper again something higher. But it's nice for the public if we don't, so they can see what you're gonna adopt. But we have to have that hearing and certify our budget before the end of April. I was hoping maybe we could do it by April 14th, but there's no telling when the state will take action. That's the frustrating part this year. They tend to do property tax, unfortunately, at the end of the session, so.
And early on, we thought it would be a shorter session. It's not seeming to go that way.
I'm still hoping, but I don't know.
It's never short
I'm
enough.
sure, yeah.
Seems a lot of bills. Yeah.
I would like to move something forward to knock down that 14,000 that we're over in the 350. Under item 14, they're suggested not acted on. The assessor's budget, he budgeted for 10,000 increase on IT support. And learning, we're spending almost 600,000 on subscriptions for the different computer needs that we have through the county. The needs for our IT folks to also be educated on that has increased the need for IT and their support. So I'm moving forward, that we end up increasing our fee for the assessor to 8,000. I don't think we need a full 10,000, but I'd like to go 8,000. That we increase that fee there for their IT support. It hasn't been changed in years or any increases, and just knowing the changes we're dealing with these subscriptions, I think it's more fitting.
Is Al, are you here and prepared to talk about that a little bit, Al?
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, as far as when it started in the service and how long we've had it, are they?
LU IT director, so we've been supporting them for a long time. I've been here for 4 years, and I think we have not increased the rate of what we charge them for support since I've been here, so.
$60,000.
Yeah, it was 60,000, yep. And so our environment, they have their own computers, they pay a fee for our service, they do pay for their own Microsoft 365 licenses, and then their software is on our servers, but they pay for the software subscriptions for the tools that they use. But, so mainly that service fee is pretty much for our tech support and basically housing their service on our hardware. And then I believe they also pay for their own phone service.
So when you say subscription based, you mean, are you talking about programs that you think they specifically use, Rich, that are taking advantage of the subscriptions, our IT people?
No, it's just that there increases and it puts more need on IT to also be prepared to help them with those problems.
Helps offset some of that stuff. I mean, unfortunately, costs are going up for everyone. So.
Do we know when the last increase was?
I think, I was gonna say, that how many years they've been doing it since you've been.
Yeah, I don't know.
think they did it before. I think it was just kind of incorporated.
I think we can find that out, but I don't know off the top of my head. But for sure, for at least 4 years since.
I knew, like I said, we've all had different
For
discussions
sure, for
with
4 years, yeah.
And we've all had different discussions with TJ. He did tell us he put 10,000 into his budget. I think he thought anything more than that was gonna cause him some grief, and so he was trying to just throw a number in there, but that's why I thought it'd be more fair to him since his hearings and things are coming up too, to try to decide if we're sure what we wanted to do. I know, Rich, my earlier conversations, I just thought it was a 10% increase, so I was looking at 6,000 and seeing how he was struggling through his budget just as we are, and wondering what's gonna happen in the legislature and that type of thing too, so.
I believe he also put aside, was it 2,000 for HR? Was it
And that I think he's still going to
Yep.
continue. They evaluated that as well, so yes. And I was gonna say, whatever you guys decide, so it's kind of like.
We'll save you from having to say it.
Yeah.
Get it printed on a shirt for you or
Thank
something.
you very much, yeah. Yeah, so we, obviously can do either, and it's just what everybody's comfortable with. I thought 10% increase was fair when I had talked with him, but also looking at the fact that, he was wondering what happens to him in this legislative session. He's been using his reserves to, what I call buy down the taxes as he's doing things, and with his program, and he's utilizing reserves to do that. And seeing that will have an end in sight for him by doing that, we don't know how much longer either, so. But
Rich, what was your suggestion?
8,000. It was basically making up 2,000 a year for the last 4 years.
Going forward, oh, you mean, that's what you're
Yeah,
saying, 8.
just looking at my,
I was gonna say, but 8 going forward.
We meet in the middle at 7.
Yeah, I can go either way with that. Sure, wanna make a motion?
I'll offer that motion.
I'll second.
Roll call vote, please answer your name as well.
Kurttenbach,
Yes.
Brandt,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Leyland.
Yes. I gave you one decision, Michelle. Did you want something on another one? You have question marks on that sheet.
I don't know if you have the HR amount they factored in.
We have 4,000 budgeted for HR.
Okay, I can't remember.
Oh, Amanda's here.
Yeah, she's managed
Oh,
it, yeah.
yeah.
I see, I've been too.
You know, it's up with assessors.
Yeah.
Yeah, originally, and there was a lot, like TJ at one point was wanting to go back on our health plan, that's been in the works a lot. And I just said, well, obviously, right now, we handle FMLA, hiring, any kind of like turnover. But yeah, I mean, that 4,000, at one point it was like, well, we tracked every hour, and I was like, why don't we just go to a flat fee? I mean, if 2,000's fine, if we end up, it's thinking like 1,000 per quarter, but sometimes it just varies. Sometimes with assessor, there's more needs, sometimes there's not. So, but 2,000 is fine, and then, but yeah, I'll be under in budget a little bit this year, so I'll have to make up for that somewhere, but I'm sure I can manage, so. And then, but should they come on the health insurance, I would like that to be reconsidered, just because that changes things, so.
And he did say in our meeting he wasn't changing for now, he was
Right.
staying with this current provider. So you say 2,000 is good for now, unless we.
I think, yeah, as long as I enter the right number. Budget,
Well, and
I
it's-
entered 4,000, and we had some talks too at one point, that might have been solid waste was kind of in the mix of possibly, so I might have upped it thinking, well, if solid waste comes under, because I was doing quite a bit of work for them, but I think they decided to really remain kind of separate, so, but I had noted last year assessor going up to 4,000, but TJ had 2,000, so that's fine, so, yeah. Sorry, Michelle, were you gonna say something?
I was just gonna say, you could choose to reduce that HR budget by the 2,000. Probably, we don't necessarily have anybody scheduled to pay us that other 2,000.
Right. So,
I guess I think,
Which
I
doesn't
thought TJ put 2,000 in for HR, so that's not his budget, so.
Two, right, he's got 2 and she's got 4, so if we want to adjust ours down to 2, makes your 7 down, your net difference is 5 then, but.
Leave it as is. Such a large amount.
So it was a matter of increasing the assessors 2,000 and decreasing HRs by 2,000 for that 2,000? Is that what I heard?
And I think that's what you had for in there, is what you said.
Yeah, that would be a choice, if we want to leave the assessor where it is on the HR, we could reduce our human resources by 2, because they're not gonna have that revenue, but likely, unless something we don't know about today.
And we're not sure what TJ has in his budget.
I think he has the 2.
I thought he
Yeah.
put 2, and I thought he
That's
reviewed it
what I
with us
just
as
looked
2.
at, and again, it was 2.
Leave it 2.
And it's only 2,000, so.
It's, yeah, I know, it's only 2, so, yeah.
Do you want an action on it, or did you?
What was that?
Do you need an action on it,
I
or?
don't know, did we take action on the other,
We did take action on,
alright, the 7?
on the IT.
The 7. Okay, then your next decisions on here, there was a request to put animal control in both general and rural for that maximum hearing levy. If you, and we talked about last week, I didn't necessarily find the rulings I thought were out there that would say we couldn't move it to rural. If you, so we need to choose where we want that to be.
So would you offer a recommendation to change it to rural? I guess I'm trying to weigh the pros and cons for us. Or them.
I don't know that I necessarily have a preference.
Would that make the most sense though? That's who's gonna use it out in the rural?
It feels like it's the
Yes,
right
yes.
usage.
It does, except I guess the thing that I hear a lot is it's the people who live right outside the city limits that seem to get the animals that are dumped. So those animals come from the city, maybe, at least some of them. So that's, nothing can ever be done, right? There's no wall separating the cities from the rural, so.
Can you split it between the two? Or no? Would that make it messy?
That would get messy for paying bills and things. I think it's probably not worth it for the
I mean, I guess to me, it's a county,
It's a service.
it's a service. I mean, you could make there's
I can
other
make-
county services that happen within city limits that folks in, like, there's so much of that back and forth. I think it seems cleanest to just assign.
Yeah, it's unfortunate if there's city animals or whatever
Yeah,
dumped,
but
but I
that we
guess
don't
the
know.
county has to respond and
Yeah.
service, so, yeah, I'm fine.
I would make the motion to move animal control, the 28,500 to the rural basic.
Second.
This is a roll call vote, please answer your names called.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Grant,
Yes.
Kurttenbach,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Leyland.
Yes.
Quit dumping your city cats. I know.
And garbage, we learned
And
last
garbage,
night,
yeah, yeah.
garbage
Yeah.
too, so it's just like, yeah.
You get your cats spayed and neutered.
That's right.
They wanna keep it.
Yes,
Alright, what next, Michelle?
I think those are the only things we have in front of you at this time. Other than fund balance, which I think we probably are wanting to at least wait a little longer and see if we can do more. So the next thing I would want to move to, there was a meeting last week with a vendor that services the public radio system equipment used by the consolidated dispatch entity. So I have very tentatively thrown some numbers into our CIP so that we can, which will then flow to our debt service levy so that we can try to start figuring out how that affects us. I've given you the summary. You can see I've added a ton, and I put it in fiscal 28, so I've given us a little bit of time to do that. And that is for the radios themselves, plus a portion of what they're calling infrastructure, things that need to be updated. Then on page 2 of that, you can yes I did, okay, on page 2, you can see the next round of it, if you will, coming in fiscal 2030. That is for more infrastructure updates. And that is on row 12, that summary, the public safety radio system. And then I put the last piece in the fiscal 31 column, although I think it wouldn't need to be done until fiscal 32. I just wanted to keep it on this list so we don't forget about it, because that would be a problem when we get to fiscal 32. And I also did our traditional, I just filled this out myself with some of the traditional things that the vendor provided at our meeting and how he broke it out if we wanted to do a purchase rather, I mean, they would be happy to allow us to do an annual payment that rises about 3% over the 10-year period.
You said they would be?
Oh yeah, that's what they first approached
Are they, yeah, they approached.
about, and then I asked,
negotiate.
well, because I think purchasing outright probably works better for our tax system, let's put it that way. And so I wanted to know estimated purchase prices and timing, which is why then the infrastructure piece is being broken out into 3 different pieces instead of all at once. So the principal part of that, it's about 12.5 million over the 10 years that we would be, items that we would be purchasing, and of course those are approximate purchase prices now, those could change by the time we do it. But it's how we, probably the big question becomes how we fit that into paying for it in the debt service levy. So I then took those numbers and started working on this, and Judy and I we plan to have another conversation with Raycom to maybe refine some of that timing, because he had, his first column that he was using in the presentation was 25-26, which is going to be over in 3 months. And so we really do need to figure out what the urgency is of some of that. I understand the annual maintenance fee might be different if you replace it now, but that still takes cash, so we have some more work to do with that.
Michelle, I think one thing that they're kind of push on that is our current maintenance contract with, or our current warranty on the radios is good through 28, but they're having trouble finding replacement parts, so I think kind of for their own sake, they're hoping, but they're responsible for making sure our radios work and are up to date through 28. They're having trouble doing that, which
I wondered about that.
kind of big save, that not our problem.
Yeah, you did
Part of
mention
it.
that, yeah.
So it definitely helps them if we do it before 28, because then they're out of the last year or two of the
And
maintenance contract that we're
so
on.
my question would be when in 28, do you know? Is
I
it
bet, I
right
don't know, I'm
June 30th
I'm
of
assuming, I
28?
don't know if that's fiscal, I would assume fiscal 28.
I was too, so when you look at what I've done now on the estimated debt service levy, I've put in 6 million for the public radio system that we would sell a bond issue like in June of 2027, which means you could replace all that stuff in July of 2027. So if he's talking fiscal 28, I am lopping off maybe if we all agree to this, that would maybe lop off that last year. So we'd only have to get through another 15, 17
Then
months.
it does come down on ours, and we're under warranty, so it's which I know with the capital stuff, this doesn't have anything for the warranty or the service agreement or anything like that, right?
No, because that's operating, so that's the other thing, the maintenance agreements have to stay in the operating budgets, and I know he did mention, if you replaced things sooner, that might reduce our maintenance agreement costs, but
Initially.
yeah, yes, at least the year that you switch over. So I do have that in here at this point, and then as I said, that does include that first round of infrastructure things, about $1 million that he actually had scheduled in 25, 26. So that's one of my questions. Are we gonna be able to make it for another, year and 4 months with that? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that yet. So we're still working to sort all that out. I just wanted to I needed to get some numbers in here to start thinking about, and I thought you would probably appreciate seeing them. So,
I would think that we'd wanna get the full life out of our current service agreement. That's kind of not our problem.
They run out of parts.
well, except that the agreement, I don't know if there's a master contract that sets that rate. I have a feeling he can increase that maintenance contract. So yes, he may have it under warranty, but we may pay extra, if you will, if we don't replace it sooner. If I understand that correctly, and I don't.
I was trying to remember that when he was bringing up the maintenance agreement, if there was a cap that they increase every year, if that was still open. Nate, do you know?
I'm not sure if there's a cap. I know, I think it was just percentage wise, I think it was 3%, because it started off at whatever it was, 350,000 and up at 600,000, so over the life of it, it was roughly 500,000 a year when you broke it down, I think is.
And he mentioned several times we could negotiate that,
Yeah.
which is, I think we have to do to our favor too. It's not just doing it what they do, otherwise it'd be better to bid it out.
Right.
I don't think that was what everybody wanted to do, but.
I mean, everything obviously can be negotiated, but I'm gonna guess the numbers that they threw in are probably pretty close to.
Oh, I'm sure they were, just like telling us though that we need to do this sooner than later.
Yeah. But I mean, obviously, they are responsible for it through 28 on it, but there does become a public safety concern if they are able to stop getting those permits, which obviously that's police, fire, that's all of us on that end. So.
The 3% was increase every year for 10 years was based on what number to begin with? Was that I just can't remember what number that was based on.
I don't know the current contract that we're on, so I don't know if that's how it's set up now, is that it's just a 3% annual increase and then they carried that over to the new one.
Well, that's what I asked him is how was 3% decided as opposed to 1%? And he didn't know. It was just because it was however it was agreed upon, but.
I guess 3% is a pretty typical escalator for most contracts, although now what we're seeing is a lot of times are a lot higher than 3% even, but
A long time.
think.
Historically, that's kind of what we've seen to cover cost of living and everything else for them, but.
I agree, I think that's where that came from. As we get, if you go to page 2 of that estimated debt service schedule, that's when we're gonna have about 4 or 5 years in there that are gonna be increases unless we can figure out something different. And I have not fine-tuned this, it's possible I can rearrange some of the debt service to different years, but when it's so many years in a row, it's hard to get that to work out, so that does show another piece of the infrastructure being paid for, starting in 2033, that last piece that we looked at, so that's, and, well, another one starting in 2031, I'm gonna let that out, and then again in 2033 to finish out the 10-year program that he showed us. And this also allows you to do our general CIP. We would, and I was still showing, perhaps issuing 4 million this June, which would cover 2 years of the projects in our general CIP unless there are ones you want to eliminate or defer. And then we would not issue again until 2028 for our regular CIP, and I would anticipate then that covering the next 2 years of capital projects there. But doing all that does, right now it's hiking the debt service levy more than I had hoped. Didn't quite have all this in our plan. The infrastructure piece, the extra 12 million, it's a lot to get squeezed out of here.
It's unfortunate, like I said, it's good that you brought this forward to the board, I think, in one of your first meetings that you went to, because we needed to get on our landscape, and didn't realize it was gonna be quite so immediate and quite so hefty price.
So that, if we can, even that last piece of the infrastructure, if that can be pushed out a year or two, that would help us, that would make a difference in our levy. So those are just all the kinds of things we're still gonna have to work through with the radio system. But I would like to, I think a decision really, I really do need a decision today, probably. If we think we want to issue bonds, I need to get a pre-levy hearing set and documents created to do that. We could do that at least for the election equipment, there's $1 million worth of this voting machines. If you believe you want to do that now, I would go ahead and start that paperwork so that we can increase our levy by that 160,000, which is already I've already incorporated in the proposed rates you've seen, but we're not able to use it unless I take action. And the choices we have, we can either assume we're gonna issue new bonds. If you really don't think you want to issue debt this year, then I would suggest that we levy ahead to help pay down future issues. Because as I look at this and seeing what our debt service levy needs to be, I just don't think it's in the county's best interest not to levy that additional 160,000 this year. So,
Do you need a motion for doing that?
I would like one so that I get the paperwork started.
Yeah, I'll move that we do debt service for the election equipment.
Second.
Could the motion be just for all eligible capital?
It can be, yes, I don't know if we'll get all the hearing paperwork put together in time, but if I at least get one, then I'm good on this levy, so if you can choose.
How much more are we thinking then?
Well, I had estimated to do all the 27 and 28 projects that are showing on your, you can just probably look at page 1 of that summary. The 4 million will cover the 27 and 28. Except for, I'm sorry, I've got that public radio system in there. If you take the public radio system out of 28, the 4 million will cover all the projects that have been requested, plus there will be some for issuance costs. You always have to have a little bit more to cover that. And I guess I want to say you don't have to approve all of those projects right at this moment. We can even approve them and put them in the hearings
And then
and still come back and evaluate them, and we don't have to sell the exact amount that's in the hearings.
But it does leave us the flexibility to do that.
Yes, it does.
Versus if we sort of hamstring ourselves on this front end, then we're stuck.
Correct.
So would you be open to amending
Yeah.
to 4 million as opposed to the?
Yeah, I'm not real hop on doing all of it, but just get it moving. Let's do that. Yes, move it
So we are amending your motion to
for all the capital
all capital
and then to be reviewed if we need it all.
for 27 and 28.
Yes.
We might even be able to incorporate, this is one of my questions for Judy and probably Nate too. We might be able to incorporate a portion of that first round of infrastructure for the public radio system, which if I could get that under the $4 million issue, then I could reduce the next one. So if there were things that were really urgent, we might be able to find a way to do that.
I'm just thinking, going back through some of the capital improvement stuff, I didn't necessarily think that was worth bonding for. But if you're looking at trying to, how we can work it all in.
Trying to figure that out.
Yeah, before we finalize that, I definitely want to review what we really need to be bonding for and what we shouldn't be bonding for.
All right, I will start paperwork to at least be able to increase that tax levy by the 160 and.
Do you need to vote on that? We got a motion.
I just
Oh,
have
yeah,
a
we have
motion, I need another second.
You have a second?
Justin did it.
Thank you. Roll call vote, please answer your name.
Grant,
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Kurttenbach,
Yes.
Leyland.
Yes.
Thank you for that. I think that's everything on the list, unless you have questions or other things you want to discuss. I saw Brian was here, but he's gone now. I'm not sure if that is a specific question.
And you said we didn't need to take action on the HR assessor thing as far as the 2,000, you'll just make the
We
adjustment.
don't have to, that's up to you.
Well, I just meant, since I know he's putting in his budget to $2,000.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up. If you want to reduce ours so it matches that, that's certainly fine.
Just helps the bottom dollar.
Right.
It helps them get the bottom dollar.
Kind of set you back a bit, but that's okay.
Are you requesting that motion?
No, I just want, if we want one, yeah, I was gonna say yes.
Just for clarity, I'll make the motion to make the adjustment for that $2,000.
Thank you.
Second.
Never mind, roll call vote, please answer your name, let's call.
Kurttenbach,
Yes.
Grant,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Leyland.
Yes. Nothing more?
Nothing more for me.
For today.
If you have questions or anything you'd like to discuss while we're here.
Are you just probably gonna keep budget work session on as long as we might have something to act on or want to bring something to the attention of the board or whatever for a while?
Yes, so I think then the only other question would be if you want, or when or how you want to review the capital projects again. You know, Rich said he wanted to look through them again, so it's just a matter of when you might want to talk about those.
next week or the
Next
following
week.
week.
Next.
Yeah, let's don't linger it on, let's get it done.
Okay.
The department heads will know to be here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Okay. Any reports or information from the board?
We had a Northeast Iowa hazmat response group meeting last week. They needed a vice chair and none of the other counties were willing to do it, so I've been tapped to be the vice chair. It has to be a county supervisor and no other county was willing, so.
Thank you.
This past week, I attended the Mount Vernon Township, meeting, budget meeting, it was very informational, visiting with the guys out there. Again, we have the information on the website, but again, it's amazing how much they absorbed the 5-year plan for the roads, the bridges and stuff, so. A lot of discussion on legislative issues. Again, the concern about the bill eliminating townships in that process, that's come up now a couple of times. Again, came up last night at our meeting with the Farm Bureau, so. Still have not found anyone in Blackhawk County that says they think it's a good deal, so.
Well, I like the option of making it optional. If a county couldn't find somebody, then the county assumes it, I guess, the responsibility. We'll see where that goes.
They have adjusted that bill to not eliminate it, but to make it appointed
Appointed.
and drop it to 3.
Yeah.
So
But
this
not as
big
an
change-
option. We're pushing out to make it as an option, not to mandate it.
Motion to adjourn?
So,
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
aye.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.